So I don't really have much of an intro for this video. All I want to say is I hate teen drama. I think they are dumb. So I watch Netflix's 3 big teen dramas at the moment, those being The Kissing Booth, Sierra Burgess is a Loser, and To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and now I'm going to talk about them. I'm certainly not the target demographic for this, but whatever, screw it. My only previous experiences with this genre have been Love, Simon in 8th grade, and I thought Love, Simon was a great movie, and 8th grade was actually my favourite film of 2018, so yeah, anyway, let's get into it. Spoilers for The Kissing Booth, Sierra Burgess is a Loser, and To All the Boys I've Loved Before, but seriously, none of them are worth watching. If you got a bunch of pedophiles to make a film, what they would make would probably be similar to The Kissing Booth. I'm half joking and half serious about that.
It's hot out here.
Dude? Oh no.
Totally dying.
No.
I'm taking this off.
I bet you he does. I bet you.
Who cares?
The plot is that Elle and Lee have been best friends since forever, and Elle has a crush on Lee's brother, but because of some pacts they made, they wouldn't, where they wouldn't date each other's relatives for some reason. But Elle, of course, like Lee's brother, because this movie has to have a plot. Now this rule's a bit weird, because Lee's brother is like 17 and Elle's brother is like 4 years old, so unless Lee plans on going to prison anytime soon, I guess he has no problem with obeying that rule. Anyway, Elle and Lee do a kissing booth for what I can only assume is the school fair, and Elle kisses Lee's brother by accident. And then the rest of the movie is pretty much just Elle and Lee's brother, who from now on I'm gonna call Logan Paul. They're pretty much just screwing each other for the rest of the movie and trying to keep it from Lee. Logan Paul gives off this extremely rapey vibe throughout the whole film.
The days of you controlling my life are over!
We'll see about that.
The amount of dumb shit that happens in this film is hilarious.
Hey!
I thought I heard moaning.
I was watching porn.
Oh. Can I watch?
Who else in real life would ask that? Lee finds Elle and Logan Paul are screwing because he walks in on them one time and sees them together and gets suspicious, but then Elle promises she isn't screwing Logan Paul and then goes back to get her stuff from Logan Paul's room, and Lee walks in on them kissing. How f***ing stupid do you have to be to get caught like that while Lee is still in the house and expecting you? Anyway, Lee and Elle stop being best friends, then Elle buys Lee an ice cream, and because of some rule that they made where if one buys the other an ice cream, they have to forgive them for anything. So if Elle kills Lee's entire family, would Lee have to forgive her because she bought him an ice cream? So Elle buys Lee an "I'm sorry I f***ed your brother" ice cream without telling you, let's just forget about that, okay? Ice cream, and Lee throws it into the trash. So anyway, Lee and Elle spend a while split up, but then Lee walks into an arcade that Elle is just kind of sitting in for some reason because convenience and lazy writing, and Lee invites Elle to play Dance Dance Revolution, and just like that, Lee doesn't care anymore and they're friends again, yay! So then cut to prom, where they did this memory thing where there's just a bunch of photos from the year, and at the end they remade The Kissing Booth. Lee gets up and kisses his new girlfriend, then Logan Paul comes out of the shadows to kiss Elle, provided the proper consent is given.
We'll see about that.
And Elle storms out because she doesn't want to piss Lee off. So anyway, cut to Elle and Lee's joint birthday party, and they blow out their candles, and Elle just decides she actually does want to be with Logan Paul. Yay for Elle, and Lee decides to stop being selfish and let her screw him. So by now, Logan Paul should have left for college, so Lee helps Elle look for him, and they set up this switcheroo where instead of Lee searching for Elle, Logan Paul just hops into the car and pretends to be Lee for a bit, and then goes, "Hurrah, it is I, Logan Paul," and that little stunt almost gets them killed.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
This woman, pull over, pull the car over, my god, you're trying to kill us.
So anyway, they go to a gazebo, Logan Paul bones Elle, and Elle says goodbye to Logan Paul the next morning, and he leaves for college, and suddenly the girl who couldn't start a motorbike halfway into this film can now drive one. And then they do the generic love story thing of riding off into the sunset, but without her new rapey boyfriend. It was awful. The acting was complete shit. I've seen Joey King, who plays Ellie, in the Slender Man movie like a while before I saw this, and she was worse in this. She was also in this film Wish Upon, and apparently she was awful in that as well. Everyone in this film pretty much does an awful job at acting. Pretty much everyone overacts everything. It's just so hard to watch. Probably the worst performance of the film comes from the OMG girls, who you can tell just don't give a single shit about this film.
Savage! That girl totally left. Yeah.
I feel like everyone just kind of wanted to cash their checks and go home. And this film kind of does border into the so bad it's good territory with a lot of the scenes. The rules that this film has between Elle and Lee are nothing more than plot devices for lazy writing, and the entire film just has this really creepy thing about it. Like, it just feels really off. Also, the cinematography and editing was so bad, I actually found it distracting. There were so many unnecessary jump cuts that they could have just been done as single takes, but for some reason there were points where jump cuts were being done every 5 seconds because nobody on this crew had enough talent to do a single shot for longer than 10 seconds. I just found it so distracting and awful, and this is the only film where I have found the cinematography to be damaging to the movie experience. Yet despite all of this, this film was actually hugely popular for Netflix. Apparently 1 in 3 people who watched this film watched it again, which is the highest rewatch rate on Netflix for a movie. Maybe it's because people needed to make sure they didn't accidentally click onto the dark web at any point during this film. Sierra Burgess is a Loser is an awful movie about an awful person doing an awful thing. If you've ever seen MTV's Catfish, this is the exact opposite. The plot is that Sierra Burgess gets a text from a dude who thinks he is texting a cheerleader that he likes, who actually gave him Sierra's number instead of her own, because cheerleaders suck. Sierra and Jamie, the dude, start texting and connect closely over text message, even though Sierra never tells Jamie who she is, so Jamie thinks he is texting a cheerleader. That's pretty much the movie summed up, but it needs to be longer than 20 minutes. So to get closer to Jamie, Sierra has to get Veronica, the cheerleader Jamie thinks he's texting, in on it so they can talk face to face. So Veronica helps her by going on dates with Jamie and FaceTiming with Jamie, all that romantic stuff, with Sierra telling her what to say in exchange for Sierra teaching her ethics. How ironic. In an attempt to make Veronica smarter so she can win back her old boyfriend. I'd take Chidi from The Good Place to teach me ethics over Sierra any day. Now, it's worth noting that Sierra's best friend is constantly telling her that what she is doing is wrong, but she does it anyway.
Okay, not met. We texted. All night. By mistake. You may or may not think that I'm somebody else.
Go! Fight! Go! Fight! Go! Fight! Win!
Okay, he definitely thinks that I'm someone else.
Oh yeah, definitely wrong with that. Never mind the fact that he could be a serial killer or a rapist or rape serial killers.
Could you focus, please?
What, on the insane plan to text date somebody that doesn't even know who you are? There's a word for that. It's called catfishing, and I'm pretty sure it's illegal.
Law is woefully behind technology, so I don't know if that's true.
Eventually, Sierra starts to feel uneasy about how close Veronica is getting to Jamie, so she does Hollywood's rendition of hacking, which is just guessing Veronica's extremely easy to guess password, her old boyfriend's name, and then shares text messages between Veronica and her old boyfriend, with them breaking up on Instagram, I think. Anyway, this spreads around fast, and Veronica just instantly guesses correctly that Sierra did it, because, I mean, who else could have? Jamie finds out when it gets put up on a scoreboard at a football game that is playing out through Hollywood's rendition of hacking, which is luring the dude who managing the scoreboard away from his computer, then using social engineering, and then putting the messages up there. And Jamie gets confused, which forces Sierra to come clean that it was her talking to Jamie and not Veronica. Understandably, Jamie gets pissed and tells them to f*** off. This all backfires on Sierra and she runs into a house crying. I don't know why. Now in a normal movie, you would have to feel sympathetic for the protagonist, and in a normal movie, I would feel sympathetic for the protagonist. but honestly, I find it so impossible to do with this movie. Considering she was catfishing some dude and then went on to shame Veronica on social media through Hollywood's rendition of hacking, I don't see why she is the one crying here. But we have to have her cry because she's the main character, and even though she should really be the villain in this story, she's the most relatable character, so she needs to be the protagonist and cry at one point because a film student wrote this. Anyway, so she writes a song that Veronica and Jamie listen to and they instantly forgive her. If that sounds like lazy writing to you, you're not the only one. So Jamie forgives Sierra and takes her to homecoming. Veronica is cool with Sierra again and everything ends happily ever after. Now, ignoring the obvious ethics problems that this movie presents for a moment, the acting is alright, it's fine. A lot better than The Kissing Booth, but nothing to get amazed over. The editing and cinematography was your standard teen drama stuff. Nothing spectacular, but I didn't think it was bad or distracting like The Kissing Booth. The writing, setting aside the obvious moral problems this represents, which I will get into later, was once again standard teen drama stuff. You've got your protagonist starts the plot thread of the movie, everything is going well for protagonist, something bad happens to protagonist sinks to the bottom of the film, then something happens and everything is okay by the end and it's happily ever after, just like a Disney Channel original movie. Very similar story structure to The Kissing Booth and is also very similar to the story structure of my next movie. Now, the ethics of this film, for an audience of teenagers, are you sure the best lesson you should be teaching them is catfishing is okay if you're doing it for love? For a movie whose final message is really just be yourself, they seem to make the whole plot about making sure Sierra doesn't let that happen. It's also worth noting that catfish is also illegal in a lot of places, so maybe not the best thing to have your protagonist do for the entire film in a movie targeted at teenagers. I also find it extremely ironic that Sierra teaches Veronica ethics throughout the film, like how Chidi teaches Eleanor ethics in The Good Place, a vastly superior form of media. I'm pretty sure one of the writers of this movie just watched The Good Place and was like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Even though it doesn't exactly fit in our film, and the main character is extremely unethical. I mean, we've got an hour and 45 minutes to fill. Sierra is just an awful person as well. She catfishes Jamie. She drags someone else into this massive lie she creates. And then when things don't go exactly how she wants them to go, she turns on Veronica and does Hollywood's rendition of hacking to cyberbully her. You can't tell me someone watched this at Netflix and thought it was okay to release to an audience of teenagers. But yeah, Sierra Burgess is still better than The Kissing Booth, but a pretty awful movie. To All the Boys I've Loved Before is a dumb, okay movie, and is probably the least of the three I watched for this video. The plot is that Lara Jean has written a love letter to every crush she has ever had and stored them away in a box in her closet that she doesn't ever intend on sending, despite addressing them and stamping them for anyone who finds them to mail them out without no issue whatsoever. Okay. Surprise, surprise, her younger sister finds them and mails them out because fuck it. So she goes to school the next morning and she finds out that the letters were sent and she has to explain what they are and stuff, and yeah. Two guys, Peter and Josh, and it's worth noting that Josh is Lara Jean's older sister's ex-boyfriend. He outright rejects her. Some other dude tells her that he's actually gay, and one just gets returned to the sender. There's also one that's just never accounted for and we don't know what happens to that. Lazy writing, I guess. Also, if you're wondering, yes, the dude who plays Peter in this movie plays Jamie in Sierra Burgess. The Netflix teen drama cinematic universe is confirmed, everyone. So because the movie needs to be longer than 20 minutes, Peter wants Lara Jean to be his fake girlfriend to make his old girlfriend jealous so she gets back together with him. Lara accepts for some reason, and they lay out some rules which are just no kissing. He has to watch some old movies, she has to watch Fight Club, and she has to go on a ski trip with him. So they begin being fake boyfriend and fake girlfriend, and Peter's old girlfriend Jen gets jealous in like 10 minutes. So because the movie needs to be longer than half an hour, it keeps going and stuff. They go to the ski trip. Lara and Jean make out in the hot tub. Someone records it and it gets sent out, and everyone thinks they had sex, but really only care about it for like 30 seconds, and everyone just kind of forgets about it and goes back to other stuff. It makes a return later in the film where everyone is talking about it, and Peter is like, "Oi, everyone, shut up your face or I'll punch you." And then they go back to wherever they live. Jen tells Lara that Peter went to her room last night, and Lara doesn't seem to ask for an explanation because no one in this movie thinks or acts rationally, and just gets mad at Peter and goes home. Also, Lara's older sister, who is supposed to be 18 but really looks like she's in her late 20s, is home from college. So anyway, Peter goes to Lara's house and apologizes and stuff, but Lara tells him to f*** off. Then Josh comes out of the bushes and tells him to f*** off. Then, because nobody in this movie thinks or acts rationally, Peter thinks that Lara, Jean, and Josh are dating, but Lara's older sister hears, and since Josh is Lara's older sister's ex-boyfriend, she gets pissed off and doesn't seek an explanation because no one thinks or acts rationally in this movie. Lara goes inside and explains everything. Margot, Lara's older sister, gets over it and is like, "No more secrets between sisters." And then Lara's younger sister is like, "I sent letters, yay, no more secrets." And then this happens.
I'm gonna kill you.
No, she's fine. She's a kid. You look so lonely, and I could tell Peter liked you, and I knew you wouldn't do anything about it. So you just sent all 5 of them. I thought 5 chances at a boyfriend was better odds. Oh my God. I was having him come over for dinner. All right.
Give me the unicorn. Look, her logic was off, but her heart was in the right place. Her face is gonna be in the wrong place.
Yeah, that no more secrets thing's going great. I mean, at least Lara didn't just forgive her like that and like what happens in other movies. So anyway, Lara's like, "Oh, I wish I got love letters and I wasn't the one sending them." And then Lara's younger sister is like, "Well, what about the ones Peter sent you in your old fake relationship?" And Lara was like, "Oh yeah." So then Lara just kind of walks into the middle of a lacrosse practice like it's nothing, and she's like, "Peter, I love you." And then Peter's like, "Lol, yeah, same." And then the movie ends happily ever after. So I didn't actually mind this movie so much. It didn't really have much wrong with it. I thought it was okay. Pretty inoffensive compared to Sierra Burgess and The Kissing Booth. The plot is fine. The cinematography was surprisingly good. There were some really nice shots, actually. The acting is very hit or miss in terms of quality. Even the actress that plays Lara Jean changes in acting quality drastically from scene to scene. They overuse music a lot in this film, and there are so many scenes that don't need music, but they shoehorn it in, and it just makes the scene worse. And they don't even use proper background music. I'm pretty sure they just took the top 40 from Spotify that day and shoehorned it in. They were like, "Hey, that'll do." The characters are just kind of stupid in this film. No one in this film seeks explanation for anything, and they all just jump to irrational conclusions for the sake of hollow drama. Nobody is particularly interesting in this film either, but it's clear that people actually cared about making this film, and it's really something I can't say about The Kissing Booth or Sierra Burgess. It was alright. It was okay. It was a meaningless, inoffensive, generic teen drama movie with a bit of heart. I'm sure the target demographic of teenage girls will enjoy this. It's also getting a sequel on Netflix, and this is the first movie of Paramount Pictures' multi-film deal with Netflix, so I will definitely be watching that and making a video on it in the future. Hopefully it's better than this, but honestly, based on the last 3, but based on this and the other 2 films I watched, this is probably the peak of the genre. I honestly don't have much else to put in this conclusion, so I'm just going to make some general comments about what I thought were similar between all 3 movies. The acting was generally bad across all of the films. To All the Boys was really the only film I thought had some good performances, but there weren't really that very many. All the films followed the same story structure. There's the beginning where you meet all the characters, then there's the beginning of the plot, then there's the peak where everything is going great for the protagonist, and then something bad happens, either because everyone just kind of turns against the protagonist or the protagonist is an idiot. And then and then the resolution, and then the film ends all happily ever after. It's kind of like the same template was used for all three films, or it's pretty much like the same film student made all three of them. All the films pretty much have the same core if you really think about it. They all have a female protagonist that has some male best friend that she loses an hour into the film. And they all involve the protagonist having a crush on the guy, and then they're together by the end. They're actually quite similar at their core, with a different skin loaded on top of it. So here's how I'd rank them. To All the Boys I've Loved Before was the most average out of the three. It was an okay, if inoffensive, teen drama movie. Sierra Burgess as a Loser comes in at second place. It's dull, teaches all the wrong lessons, and all the characters are written so poorly that Sierra Burgess cannot even be considered the protagonist of this film. Finally, The Kissing Booth comes in at last. No surprises here. It's a perverted, creepy, awful film that shouldn't exist, and I don't know who cleared it for release. If you've stuck around for this long, thank you for watching until the end. I hope I saved you from watching these three bad films. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments.